Greetings and salutations, this is Huge Ass. What a weekend that was! There are hundreds of debunkers, and we all wait to hear a flat earther say something like this.
But I'm going to ask, because people in the chat are going to know, based on what you've just said, what is your final conclusion? Could you sum it in like 2 or 3 words?
I think after...
Or can you not?
Well, the past 2 months have been basically going through this image and trying to come to terms with what's the reasons for why I see flat in my location, and why does this image show drop looking over my location. So there's definitely a conflict there. And, you know, I've been discussing it with you. We've been finding things out, and we might have a different explanation. We may have a different explanation for what's going on that could be incorporated inside of the globe model, but give validation, not just to the work I've done, but why other people see further too. But based upon all of this new evidence, and that's what we're all looking for, is new evidence. I've been asking for it for a while, for proof of the globe, proof of drop, especially in my location. And thanks to Bev, and thanks to the gentleman that took this original image, I've got to say, I'm now back on the globe side.
Ironically, what turned Ranty was a flat earther doing what Ranty does, going out there and proving the globe. One might think, what took Ranty so long? He's had all the evidence. This photo has not much different from anything else he's seen before. I suppose he didn't trust all those globers who pointed out to him where he was going wrong. But he trusted Bev, which quite frankly, Bev as a source of authority, yeah, it doesn't really match. Anyone who's heard Bev debate FTFE knows what I mean. Anyway, good on Ranty. The least we expect people to do is to be weighed by the evidence and not the emotion around an idea. And that's what seems to have happened here. Unfortunately, despite seeing Ranty change and seeing why Ranty change, Dell has firmly declared that he sticks with the emotional arguments and not with the evidence of reality right in front of him. But we'll get to that. So let's see what Dell has to say. Dell, what do you think of your fellow flat earthers?
These people are zealots. They own these platforms to push a bias, to push an agenda.
That sounds pretty interesting. I've often heard that flat earthers are referred to as people practicing sophistry. Tell me about sophistry.
Sophistry, for anybody that doesn't know, can be in different forms, using imagery and language to try and give the appearance or the semblance of something being rational and even scientific. But the whole order of it is to convince people by any means. So it's not objective inquiry, it's manipulation, using whatever they can in order to push the message that they want to push.
Well, there's not a lot I can disagree with there. What about flat earth arguments? What do you think of those?
It's pretty... For me, I'm a wee bit disappointed in them. Right? Because the disappointment is that they're so weak. The things that they're bringing forward are so pathetically weak. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, I can't disagree with that. Just look at all my videos and the videos of any other debunker. Flat earth arguments are weak. But surely you, Dell, have much better arguments. Tell me what they are.
So what we have to understand first and foremost, what you need to comprehend first and foremost, is that the world that we live in, the three-dimensional space of objects, people, things, the space you move around in, is Euclidean. The tools that we use from construction to, travelling, navigation, are, in most cases Euclidean. We'll get to the non-Euclidean aspects of it later on. And that is what we know, that is what we apply in everyday life.
Once again, no argument from me. Locally, we may as well assume it's flat. That's because the Earth is huge and we are tiny. The circumference of the Earth is 40,000 kilometres. But we rarely interact with anything more than, say, 10 metres away. That's 1/4 millionth of the Earth's circumference. So you're not going to see a lot of curve in that distance. You may as well treat it as flat for that distance. those are the type of things you're talking about here, Del. So they're not much of an argument against a globe. Get it with the scale, man.
Now, when you view that Euclidean reality with the globes in an orbit, it appears totally different to what it actually is.
Really, Del? But we've measured things to prove that they match what we do see. Please explain further. It'd be good if you had some examples, actually.
I'm going to give you some small examples just to make the point.
Awesome. Very kind of you.
Again, in the real world, you know, we know by measure, direct measure, the dimensions of the bricks, the dimensions of the homes, blah, blah. So these, you know, we could assume are parallel lines. And in reality, we could measure that and determine that they are. We could use train tracks as a better example. I'll see if I can find any. But what you notice is here is a divergence in the apparent height from the top of things, and from the bottom you can see the floor appears to rise to the centre of the field of view, and the parallel lines appear to converge at what we would call the vanishing point. Okay?
Okay, that's basic perspective. Nothing wrong there. Go on.
Now, that is a property of vision. It's a geometric aspect of your vision. It is not a geometric aspect of the three-dimensional world in any way, shape or form. You would have to be a mental patient to make an assumption, or even worse than that, to make an assertion that these buildings are indeed going downwards and getting smaller and smaller and smaller, so that little hobbitses live down in these parts here. You know, in reality, that door there and that door there and the door down here and the windows and the brickwork are of the same proportions.
Well, yes, I totally agree with that last bit, but you said that they're not representative of the geometric reality. But you didn't explain how. So is what you mean that the bricks and the doorways and everything like that are part of reality, but the fact that you're seeing them means they've moved out of reality? What on earth are you saying?
Again, I just want to hammer it home. You know, these two are parallel lines. We know for a fact that the dimensions of the train track, in conjunction with how the trains are built, the axle of the trains must have a set width to them so that they conform to the width of the tracks. This is, you know, direct measure, physical reality of actual objects. As we look here, they appear to converge. Okay? Now some of these trees, in fact I'm not even going to go there right now, I'm going to come back. Before I go any further, I just wanted you to, you know, for people to understand, comprehend what it is I'm actually talking about.
That would be helpful. Please continue.
Right? Because there is two worlds going on. And I'm going to repeat myself, and I know I'm going to keep repeating myself. There's a world that we move around in, the three-dimensional space. And then it's how we view it with our eyes.
Well, yes, the world exists regardless of whether or not we see it. And our eyes aren't perfect. We don't see everything. Our eyes are only attuned to certain frequencies of light. We don't see infrared. We don't see ultraviolet. We don't see everything. So what? Not seeing certain frequencies of light doesn't change the shape of the things we look at. They're real regardless of whether we're looking at them or not.
So when we involve optics and optical phenomena, proofsies, we must have a proper understanding, a proper comprehension of the geometry of vision, and it must be accounted for within your claims.
The geometry of vision is critical to an argument? What, you mean angle of incidence and angle of reflection? What sort of geometry of vision are you talking about? And first and foremost, why is it relevant to the shape of the Earth?
What we're going to see from these geniuses is blatant deception, and I'm going to show you how they try and deceive you. And make no bones about it, they are deliberately being deceptive. The reason that I know they're being deceptive is because what I'm talking about right now and what I'm going to talk about has been stated to these people over and over again.
Oh, we seem to have jumped back to flat earthers and why they're silly again.
The character known as Ranty, again, they're irrelevant people. I'm not caring about them, right? I'm using their content for our benefit and for the benefit of those who are trying to comprehend this whole subject. What you're going to see for these people is deception. These things have been pointed out to them over and over and over again.
Yes, and despite that, Ranty seems to have come around. He's actually started to accept reality as it is. Good on you, Ranty.
Direct measure always trumps, oh, I seen it.
Absolutely right, Del. Direct measure always trumps, it looks flat so it must be flat, and other similar idiocies.
Now, I would give them more credence if they were intellectually honest and actually, demonstrate themselves to be objective inquirers, scientists.
Yes, you must mean Ranty, because Ranty demonstrated intellectual honesty. He was presented with some evidence that he couldn't refute, so he changed his mind instead of sticking with his preconceived ideas. You're going to do the same, aren't you, Del? You're not a hypocrite. And given what you just said, I'm certain you don't want to be intellectually dishonest.
But they're no, they're the furthest from it. They'll even laugh and scoff at the basic things I've just shown you there, because again, being a zealot and a cult disciple, you will scoff and laugh at basic aspects of reality.
You couldn't be more wrong, Del. We don't laugh at reality. We're trying to teach you what reality actually is and prove it to you. Unlike flat earthers, we actually provide evidence, we provide measurements, we provide everything you need to accept reality as it is. But you guys keep coming at it from the conspiracy angle, that everyone must be against you and there must be some massive conspiracy. Just look at reality as it is and you'll figure it out. It's not what you think it is, obviously. And if we're scoffing at anything, it's the fact that you refuse to accept reality. You refuse to accept the evidence before your very eyes. You just completely ignore it because it doesn't suit you. To base your reality on your feelings and conspiracy theories instead of hard facts is by definition stupid and therefore scoff-worthy.
And the reason why I'm showing you this is because these people continually make these videos and then profess. There's this kind of saying that, the pigeon shits on the chessboard and then dances around professing it has won something. That's exactly what these people do. Everything that they're going to accuse people like us of is exactly what they are. It's a projection from them. And again, the proof of that is in their content and their actual work.
Once again, Del, I couldn't agree more. Your work is full of nonsense, conspiracy theories, fear, aggression, emotion. The only sort of evidence you offer is by pouring water onto a soccer ball, a deflated one at that. And somehow that proves that water can't stick to the earth? Whereas if you look at the work of the debunkers and scientists, you see evidence, you see measurements, you see scientifically verified data collected over hundreds of years, verified by thousands of other scientists, and applied in the real world every day. We even have pictures of Earth from space showing it's a sphere, and yet you just deny it as fake. I agree. Look at their work, especially if they're a piece of work.
The confused laddie. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt and we'll say he's confused rather than saying he's barefaced at it. But, fuck it, he is at it. Because this stuff's been pointed out to him over and over again. And they ignore it.
We don't ignore you, Del. We debunk you. Because you're so easy to debunk.
So, it's this whole game continually. It's the same with the other cretins. It's fine if people are going to change their mind, but they have to have the ability to have an actual reasoned discussion.
You mean like Ranty and Conspiracy Cats had? And that the likes of you, Nathan Oakley and Brandon don't.
And directly answer questions and facts that are put to them.
I'll take that as a yes then.
To we see how they account for them. That will give you the defining line of whether they're being disingenuous or whether they're just confused and stupid or, whatever.
It's as if you're arguing against yourself, Del. Very strange.
I'm just going to cut to the chase with it. Not one of them has addressed what was put to them. The only thing that I seen was that the character Ranty, you know, had a hand wave dismissal saying, I don't understand cameras. I don't understand cameras. I understand perspective fine. I understand that the geometry of optics is a separate thing from the geometry of three-dimensional space. Totally different. Anybody with eyes can see that. Take a minute, go and look outside. Do you believe that the floor's rising up in front of you? Do you believe that the street lights are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and appearing to converge at a point? Is that what you believe? Right, so you know that it's not out there in the real world. It's not out there. The world's not like that. So where is it happening? It's happening here.
Del, you're confusing so many concepts, no wonder you've got it wrong. No one believes that the floor rises as it goes into the distance. No one even makes that argument. And when Ranty said that you didn't understand cameras, he meant you didn't understand the difference between a camera and the human eye, because clearly they both show the same thing. And yet they're different things. With the human eye, it's actually our brain, not our eye, that sees it. The eye collects the light, but the brain interprets it. The fact that the floor rises and that sort of thing, that's the perception that we have of what we're seeing. But what we're seeing is still there, as proven by the fact that we can take a camera and take a picture of it. Something completely independent of the human eye. In fact, all the evidence that you presented today, that's all been taken on a camera. So you haven't actually offered evidence that's relevant to your point at all. Anyway, after all this sophistry, he gets on to the Ranty conversion and the photo that started it all.
The image in question, right? This image here. Now we can see the grass here in front. We know they're at a lower elevation. I've actually checked it out. It's saying that the base of Blackpool Tower sits at 14 metres above sea level. Right, now let's get some distances here. Right, let's go here. So, this photograph was taken from down here. Oh, let me just move that. We'll go there. We'll go Southport Beach. Fuck it, we'll go there.
I must say, Del, this lack of precision is not confidence inspiring. And especially when you know it wasn't from Southport Beach, it was from the car park. It said so in the video. So you're being disingenuous for a start.
So, run about here, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, it's saying it's got a distance of 9.4 miles. And what we're supposed to be seeing is the Lake District. Let me see. We'll be generous, we'll just go. Run about here. It's roughly. So, 55 miles. From the original point, minus the 8 miles, so there's 8 miles between the observer at Stockport, 9 miles between the observer at Stockport and Blackpool Tower, and from Blackpool Tower to these supposed mountains there's, 46 miles, give or take, right? So there's a massive gap between Blackpool Tower and these hills that they're showing us here, right? Just so that you know. So remember, from Blackpool Tower to these, we're talking 45 miles. Alright? So this is the image in question. Their assertion is that, you know, the base is missing. There's a drop to these things and yada yada yada. Again, there is absolutely no accounting for the geometry of vision or any of that stuff. Let me just cut to the chase.
Please do. You just took a minute and a half of my video wasting everyone's time. Unfortunately, I needed it for context.
Right, let me get to the Baldy Cat's character and I'll show you exactly what he's up to. Right.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
For the flat earthers who are watching, who are trying to find fault and maybe use a catch.
I'm not sure now.
Get on with it.
Phrase like you're presupposing a globe. I'm not. I'm presupposing a flat Earth. I'm presupposing that the Earth is level, and I'm seeing whether this observation works on it.
So you're saying whether or not the observation works on it. Now what you have to notice is here we've got an orthographic view, right? a side-on view of objects like we're drawing it on paper. There is absolutely nothing about this that incorporates vision or, you know, any of that whatsoever.
Why the hell would it, Del? It's taken with a camera, not your eye.
So this is the beginning of my triangle. I then went to have a look at Blackpool Tower.
Also, I need to point out to you that he's invoking trigonometry. Not spherical trigonometry, planar.
Yes? You heard him yourself. He just said he's presupposing a flat Earth. He's trying to compare the models. Weren't you listening?
So this guy here who apparently teaches children, but has got a massive confusion between planar trigonometry and spherical trigonometry.
No, Del, you're so desperate to make any sort of point at all, you'll grab anything. You completely ignored what he said. He's first supposing a flat Earth. Then he's going to do a spherical Earth, and then they're going to compare it against reality. Didn't you see the video? I mean, it is what you're commenting on.
Constantly refers to planar trigonometry while asserting that he's measuring curvature on a curved surface, which would not be planar trigonometry, would be spherical trigonometry. But anyhow, we'll just forget about that.
Well, you reacted out of your biases in a desperate attempt to make a point, saw a problem that wasn't there, chatted over the chessboard and declared victory. But we'll forget all about that.
And I can see it's 158 metres tall. We can look at the picture and we can see, you know, just how close to sea level is. And I thought, well, how can I also put this in the favour of flat Earth? And I thought, well...
In fact, do you know what? Just stop a minute. Stop a minute. Because I'm going to show you mine first. Right? And I'm going to show you what he's done, and then I'll play his video to show you exactly what he's done, right? So just bear with me a wee second here.
Many months later.
So, we know the height of these bollards here. Okay. You can see this one here in the distance. Note how it's peaking above the height of the van. Note how the van is lining up with the bottom of this house here. Just pay attention, have a wee look at this. Look at the way the fence appears to descend. Remember, the floor is appearing to rise up into the centre of the field of view. The van is also just about heights with the lamppost, although we can't see the top of this lamppost. Right?
All just observations of perspective, Del. No one disagrees with you. Perspective is a thing.
Oh look, that's got even bigger. That's just grew. That's because when I went lower, the curve of my street became more pronounced. Now we can see, I mean, that one there's just about heights with that car now. And it's also, you know, lining up with the bottom of this here. Now, let's just stop there, okay? Let's just remember this picture, right? Have a look at it. And I'm going to show you what these dipshits are up to.
Are you also going to get to a point? Because I haven't seen one yet.
Okay. Let me get my trusted Globe Earth Scientist #1 tool. Sure. Based on the image I've just shown you, the bollard here lying on the ground, right? We know that to be 5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, if my street's flat, then there's 5 inches there in comparison to the van, which is probably 5 feet tall. My camera is here, so if I draw a tangent line...
That's not a tangent, Del. Do you not even know that much?
Like that. Look, how is it possible that I can't see the whole bottom portion? How can that possibly be higher than that? Because if it's flat, if my street's flat, then it should never appear like it's the same size or even higher than that one.
That's not the argument, Dell. And unless you're a complete idiot, you know it's not the argument. Complete straw man.
That proves that my street is curved like this, and that 5 feet is now down here like that, because I showed you it. That's how simple it is. That's the sophistry. Ignoring the eye, perspective, the geometry of vision, showing you an image with perspective in it, i.e. the geometry of optics, then they jump to an orthographic side view like this and start asserting that, well, that could never be lower than that on a flat earth, 'cause look.
Certainly was a demonstration of sophistry. Yours. No one makes the argument you've argued against. That, by definition, is a straw man.
You should be able to just draw a line and see it, and I can go like that, and that's how much I should be able to see all that. Not just this wee bit up here. That proves that the street that I'm on is curved.
Again, no scientists anywhere would claim that a street was curved. It's not enough distance to measure curve. As I said earlier in this video, the circumference of the Earth is 40,000 kilometres. 40,000! That street's what? 50? 50 metres, not kilometres. It's a tiny distance, a tiny fraction of the circumference. You wouldn't expect to see curve.
There must be a 12-foot curvature from my gate to the end of my street. Must be. Must be.
If you're finished demonstrating your sophistry, I think we'll leave it there. You go on for another hour and a half of this crap. You do get a little funnier, but I had to address the main points. The corgi's warming up, so if you'd like to support the channel, there's several ways. I'll put them in the description. The one I want to draw your attention to is memberships. Click the join button down below, and you can become a member. For just $3.99 a month, Australian dollars, you can be part of the huge ass movement. Many thanks to my current channel members. So there's nothing left to do but cue the corgi.
You're despicable.